Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. Tonight, we stand at the foot of a giant, and we anticipate that climbing to the top is going to take us over 3 years. Of course, I am talking about a legendary campaign, Horror on the Orient Express. This will be the second time running this for me. It consists of 19 scenarios and over 900 pages. It was first published in 1991, so it is 30 years old this year. Because of that, because it is somewhat ingrained into Call of Cthulhu culture, I have taken the liberty to change a few of the names along the way to avoid any accidental triggers of memory on the part of the players. This game offers the players moments of profound revelation, and we wouldn't want to spoil anything. So I ask you, the listener, to be careful about what you post online in the comments. Tonight is our session 0. In this episode, we will get to know the characters and some of their backgrounds. This game is replete with handouts, some of which are best given to the players before the game begins. We'll use some of them tonight so that we don't have to bring them up in the game. So now, without any further delay, we will begin our session 0 of Horror on the Orient Express. Gentlemen, thank you for participating in this monstrous campaign. I've sent you a lot of information over the course of the last couple of months, some of it as I thought of it. I wanted to sort of explain what I've done. Horror on the Orient Express, like Masks of Nyarlathotep, the way it was originally written sort of drops you into the middle of something already going on. So Masks realized that they really needed a scenario where you get to know Jackson Elias. In this case, I figured we needed something to get to know not only one another, but a key person, in fact, Professor Julius Smythe. So I created something called the Arcane Society in Arkham, a bunch of professors. Well, let me just explain. So Arcane Society, the way I envisioned it was in 1871, after the Civil War, the American Civil War, a number of friends who were also professors at Miskatonic University got together, and they wanted to investigate weird things going on. They wanted to investigate the fact that so many people were claiming to see Civil War ghosts, and that there was most definitely this huge rise in hauntings. They wanted to see if there was actually any scientific evidence for it. And so they formed themselves a little club, of which most of the records, we don't even know if there were records back then. But they did some investigating, and after maybe a few years of trying to, of going out and trying to observe these things, and they realized that there's nothing. It's nonsense. It's charlatans and people taking advantage of people, to get money, whatever. And so the society became kind of a skeptics society. They kept an eye out for people who were up to no good, people who were trying to take advantage, and just the general hysteria that goes along with it. They anticipated that there would be another outbreak of this right after World War I, because once again, people are getting killed left and right. But they tended to be scientists, and their investigation techniques were pretty good. And then, as time went on, they began to sort of split in two. And one sort of the major group of this Arcane Society they're the ones who went out and took photographs of ghosts and whatever, and had slideshows and bake sales and stuff like that. But there were a few people in the club that realized that there was something going on, that they had classified their investigations. Most of them were nonsense. Many of them were charlatans with magic lanterns and things like that were projecting things. And then there were a few that were not, they were not explainable, but at the same time, they could be explained. You just couldn't figure out how they did it. And then there were a tiny handful of things that just not, they rang of something bizarre. And so an inner circle was formed, and the inner circle protected the rest of them from what might be dangerous knowledge. They were shrewd, they were careful. You guys are all the current inner circle of the Arcane Society. You may not have seen something directly yourself, but you are aware of certain files that there is some very bizarre something going on here, and there's no way to prove or disprove it. And it just sort of smacks of not fake, you know. All right, so that's basically where you are in the game as part of this Arcane Society. Now, Professor Julius Smythe, who is our main, sort of our Jackson Elias for the story, our main push, he came from the United Kingdom. I forget the year. Oh, wait, I know, I got a graphic. Professor Smythe is a professor who graduated from Oxford. He has a D.Lit in philosophy and a PhD. In his career, he was professor of humanities at the City and Guilds College of the University of London until 1902, when he came to the United States. He settled in Arkham, and he was professor of humanities at the Miskatonic University in Arkham, Massachusetts, until 1919. So the year that we're playing is 1921, is where we're starting. So 2 years later. What happened is his wife caught the Spanish flu and passed away in 1919. And Professor Julius was a very dynamic, very fun, very interesting person to hang around. Before his wife died, you would never go to his house that there weren't like 5 students there or 10 students there that were just hanging about, talking about things. You all sort of came under his wing as you came into this area, and he sort of initiated you all into the Arcane Society, which he wasn't a founding member, but he was definitely the president of it by the time you got involved. And then his wife died. And it didn't break him, but he kind of lost a bit of the enthusiasm that he had. He missed her a great deal. And eventually he decided that he would move back to his home in London. Actually, it's in Cambridge. And when he did that, the presidency passed on to, I haven't decided if it's one of you or not. We can decide that. Anyways, he went back, but a man like that can't just be kept down, or he can't fall completely. So within a year or so, he's a professor emeritus at Cambridge, and he teaches a few classes once in a while and does mostly research in his home, following along the same lines as he always did, the strange, unusual, legends, archaeology, anthropology, things like that. He does have a manservant that's been with him for years too, James Meadows, and they live there now alone. So that's just, we'll put that in place. So he's a character that will come up in order to prompt you. Let's see what else. Let's decide. Should one of you be the president? Either one of you can be the president of the club at the moment, or we could have a president who is too old to go on adventures anymore. Let's see. That's my dice.
I'm in favor of an NPC president.
NPC president?
Sounds good.
Well, let's say then. Go ahead.
It could fit one of my backstories, because one of the guys who got me into lecturing at Miskatonic was already into the occult anyway, James Hopewell. He's 50 at this point, so he could potentially be.
That's a little young and a little too active. So what we can say is that he's a member of the club.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think maybe Dr. Edison. I think John's probably right. Let's say we've got an 80-year-old Dr. Theodore Hewitt, who is the president, and he's president. You know, it's not that kind of a club where he has to really do much. So he's president, but he's not that active in the club. It won't be. It's not important to the story anyway. It's just the way I'm putting it together. So I sent you out. I mean, you guys have created characters. Why don't we talk about your characters a bit? Before we do that, there's something that might be useful to you. I don't know if I sent it to you, but a calendar. It's really for the sake of the game, but we've orchestrated it so the game's really going to begin 1923 January. So it's easy to start at the beginning of the year and just start marking off the days.
So 23, not 21.
Right. Well, we're going to start in 21.
Okay. Got it.
Horror on the Orient Express doesn't actually begin until we get to London. And at this point in time, none of your characters have any clue that they're going to end up in London. But that's, like I say, I'm creating a short one that sort of pulls you all together. It'll make sense. So there's that. I can send that to you if you guys want to have that on your desk, and you can mark off the days as they go. That also brings up something else that I think the way I want to do it is in game time. I think that you are going to update your characters at the end of every week. So we'll say, so it won't necessarily be sessions.
Okay.
But it'll be at the end of every week. So we'll say Sunday. Well, when it switches from Saturday to Sunday, it goes from one week to the next week at midnight. Give it a time. At that moment, you guys can update your characters.
So you're talking do the improvement checks and all
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And get back some luck. Stuff like that. That sounds like that. That's a good plan.
Would you like the characters, say, emailed in or put in a Dropbox to you monthly? Or
I don't think you need to do that. I don't really need to know on a day-to-day basis what your characters' levels are. You just
got it.
Characters are your characters. I trust you all on your roles.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's start at I've got an Excel spreadsheet of your characters here. Let's start with Dr. Gabriel Neruda. Should tell us about him.
I am Dr. Gabriel Neruda. I am from Argentina, born and raised and lived in Buenos Aires, where I attended university. I have a PhD in theology. I've always been fascinated by the occult and esoteric philosophy. I taught a couple of classes in Buenos Aires, but my wife and I eventually moved to the United States, where I now teach at Miskatonic University. And we've been happy here for the last couple of years.
Excellent. Dr. Dorian Dabrowski.
Yes. I was born in Kłodzko, Poland, to David Dabrowski and Daria Dabrowski. I am one of three. I have a sister, Diana, and a brother, Dante. We moved to Manchester in England at the age of, well, I did it when I was 5. And I started my life going into alienism psychology, because my father was an alienist. But at the age of 20, me and my sister, we moved further down south in England, and to get away from my father. We met a man, James Hopewell. He studied the occult and was a professor of archaeology at Miskatonic University. So he came over to England for some relaxation that time. We met him. He took us under his wing, and I became his assistant, and my sister became his secretary. We moved 10 years later to where I am now, a professor of archaeology at Miskatonic University. And my sister is now married to James Hopewell. She is young. I disapprove, but it is what it is. And my other brother, I do not know where he is now.
And you're a professor of
Archaeology.
archaeology. Dr. Edison York.
Yes, I am Dr. Edison York. I am a physician. I was born and raised in Swindon, England, and got my degree in London. My family still lives in Swindon. We have a small ranch there. We have horses. My pride and joy is a 5-year-old Arabian male by the name of Chestnut, where I try and go back and ride as often as I can, and visit mother and my younger sister when possible. But currently, I am teaching in the medical school at Miskatonic University. I expect that this will be a fairly short term, maybe like a 5-year stint before I return home. It's nice to be in the States. I have an opportunity to visit with a cousin of mine, an American cousin, Mr. Jerry Hendricks. He's a foreign correspondent, so he gets to travel the world. So it's always fun to catch up with him. But yeah, Dr. Edison York.
Theodore Thursby.
All right. Well, I'm from the Thursby's family. My oldest, well, yeah, they're big names. My oldest brother, that's Thurston Thursby III, but that's my older brother. I'm a bit of a black sheep of the family. The rest of my siblings, all 7 of them, they stuck close to the family businesses. My father is from big old oil the big rail barons. And my mom was from the new oil money. But for me, I wanted to see the world. So I started traveling. I got my allowance cut quite a bit, but I kept at it. Love big game hunting, seeing the world, exploring it. As I got more and more into it, traveling around, embedding myself in cultures quite different to what I was used to growing up, I wanted to learn more of it. So as I did, I found some fascinating, amazing stories and legends that these people had to give up. And I just had to study more. I came back to the States, went to Miskatonic University. I studied briefly under Professor Dabrowski, in fact, in his archaeology class. And this is also where I met Professor Julius Smythe. So quite a fascinating individual. The Arcane Society, that had my name all over it. I got involved, and well, here I
am. Dr. Roland is it Kurz?
Kurtz.
Kurtz.
Yes, I am named Roland Kurtz. I am originally from Switzerland. I have studied in Switzerland and in Germany and in the United States. It is as a Swiss citizen that I avoided the Great War, which I consider one of the tragedies of our species up to this date. It is my belief that perhaps having seen this nadir, we can begin to climb using rationality to a condition that is less barbaric than we are accustomed to. I was drawn to Miskatonic because I have some inkling that there is, I am an inorganic chemist, and I suspect that there is information discovered in the previous barbaric age of European society that is locked away in the text of The Alchemist and so on. And Miskatonic, of course, has a library renowned for these works. And similarly, the Arcane Society is of interest to me because I am seeking to be enlightened away from superstition and irrational human thinking and to discovering the fundamental secrets that will allow us to attain our rightful position in this strange and remarkable universe that we are only beginning to understand.
Last but not least, Gunter Block.
Yes, I am Gunter Block. I make my my living as a stage magician here in the United States. I'm originally from Berlin, Germany, where I lived until a few years ago when I had to leave rather hastily. I was trained by my father, and he brought the skepticism in me because he taught me that pretty much everything that was supernatural could be proven by simple stage magicians and getting people to look where you want them to instead of where something is actually occurring. Sadly, one day I was hanging out with my friends at a beer garden, and I decided to have a second beer. And instead of meeting up with my father, the delay caused him to wait around longer on the street. And when I got back, I found that he had been mugged and killed by a local street thug. We were able to collect the insurance money, and I poured myself into his work of disproving charlatans and other supernatural. This led to my need to escape Germany, as there was a new society rising in the disaffected men of the city that were putting their faith in a certain mystic that said he could prove that the Aryan race was superior, and that he had was talking to some spirits to demonstrate this. I was able to disprove this mystic was actually speaking to spirits, and he was just using an elaborate stagecraft of smoke and mirrors and a little bit of gas to give people some slight hallucinations. Instead of being rewarded, the society realized that I had Jewish blood and the anti-Semitism that was rising in Germany. I decided that it would probably be best to leave. With the insurance money, I was able to head to the United States and set up a very successful entertainment business of magic. I was drawn to the Arcane Society as were a perfect fit, disproving supernatural, and I was quite willing to join in on this. And as I have been successful with my my career, I find that I have no need to work unless I so desire to, more for entertainment than for the money.
Fantastic. All right. So those are our characters. You've also created some secondary characters, or you're in the process of creating them. The secondary characters in this game may or may not come into it. It's going to depend on if you guys survive. And this game is not like Masks. It's not a bloodbath. It's if you think carefully and you're careful, you will survive till the end of this, hopefully, or at least almost to the end of it. Let's see. All right. So part of this is obviously going to have to do with the Orient Express. Your characters don't know about that. This is a couple of years beforehand. You're not making plans or anything like that with the train. But the manual gives me a very nice map, layout of the train. And rather than bring it up when we finally get there and take the time to go through it, then we can go through it now. I also found some beautiful models of the Orient Express. So I've sort of put them together so that we can take a look at them. I will show you. You'll find this kind of is in general for a lot of passenger trains, then and even now. Let's see, where is it? There it is. Okay. So there's always a locomotive, obviously, that drives the train. That it consists of the engine and a firebox, which is where they store the coal for the train. And there's a water tank and water. And then there are a number of fourgons. And what the fourgons are is that's where the packages are, the baggages, anything that they're transporting, mail, and anything like that. And in the case of this, there are, I believe, 3 of them. You'll notice the first one is mail and packages. The second one is long-term passengers that are going all the way from Paris or from London all the way to Constantinople. And I'll clarify that there is no tunnel yet. So what you really do is you would take a train from London to Dover, which is it's not technically the Orient Express, but it's a train that they've commissioned to get you from London to Dover. And then you have to take the ferry across, and then you land in Calais, and you go from Calais to Paris. And that's where it really starts. There's something called a Calais car. They put, if you're on that, they put you in the Calais car, and then they would simply attach the Calais car to the Orient Express, and it would continue from there. So there's a number of fourgons. There's short-term passengers too. And for the most part of this game, you're going to be short-term passengers because you're going to be getting on and getting off. And then there is the dining car, the Étoile du Nord, the North Star. It is if you can say 5-star, it's a 5-star restaurant. It has what you think a kitchen, and then it's got dining seats. Then you have some sleeper cars, and their sleeper cars all have names so that you know which one that you're in. They're actually written on the outside of the sleeper car. So there's Amélie, and there's Brigitte, and then you have the lounge, which is is it pronounced Côte d'Azur, the blue side. It is literally a lounge with I don't know if there's a picture of it there. In the story, there's a piano. So there is a piano in there somewhere. And then you have more sleeper cars, Claudette and Dominique. And that's about it for the train. It can be made longer or shorter depending on how much they need. But for the most part, that's all you have to worry about. We had a question earlier about a caboose. And I don't think that there's a caboose. I think that's on a working train. You have a caboose for the workers. But in this case, there's no caboose. We're not going to worry about it. The train this map came. This is actually a historical map, and it goes beyond what the scope of our game is because it goes all the way up until more or less modern times. But the red line is the one that you're going to be taking. That is 1923. There is also the brown. Where is the brown line? It's hard to see. It's in here, but that's what it was in 1890. So it's a different route. They blasted a tunnel right here from Lausanne to Milan called the Simplon Tunnel. And before that, they had to go up and around the Alps up here and come down this way.
So that's why the name Simplon was added to the Orient Express.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure it's a really long tunnel. So it's like 12 miles long or something like that. I could be wrong on the distance, but it's one of the longest tunnels there was. The game gives you a correct schedule, but the problem is that I believe there was only one Orient Express. There might have been two, but the thing is that they went and then they came back, and they went and they came back. So rather than have you wait a week for the train to come back if you get off, I made it so that every 8 hours a train goes by in both directions. So that's your schedule. And I also expanded the times because it only took, I don't think it took quite 3.5 days maybe to make the trip, if you were going all the way. So I wanted there to be a little more time in between stops so that you'll have time to, read journals that you find, or books that you find, or things like that. You have time on the train. But this will come important. This is something you might want to have handy because I'll hold you to it. If I joked earlier, if you're being chased and you get to the train station and there ain't no train, you can see exactly when it's going to be there. I'm also, there's an aspect of the game that it doesn't really come up much, but I think that we don't want to get too deep into the details. So when you book passage, okay, your luggage will be collected from your hotel, put onto the train, and when you say that you're going to get off in Paris and you're going to stay at this hotel, your luggage will be put at the hotel, and you as players don't have to worry about. These people are efficient. Everything will be perfect. I'm not going to suddenly say, where's your luggage? It's not going to happen. That's not a part of the story. So we'll just assume that sort of stuff gets covered, and they're extremely professional. But you can pick where you want to stay. Part of the thing that I sent you a while back is Le Guide de Voyageur, the guide that they give you. That is a only slightly modified reprint of the original that you would have gotten when you got on the train. And it tells you, well, here, let's see, I'll pull part of it up. This is what it sort of looked like. It gives you the menu of what food they're going to be serving. It gives you some advice. The advice is interesting because it does come into the story. Passengers are reminded that in each country, police will check the passengers' passports and visas on boarding and departing the train. There is also a customs check at each frontier. The chef de brigade is always present during these checks. The conductor of each car will take possession of your visas and passports so that you are not disturbed by immigration arrangements. Your documents are securely held by the chef de brigade. The French franc is the standard currency aboard the Orient Express. the currency of the nation within which the train is present is also accepted. And then there's a list of newspapers that are always available on the train if you guys want to read newspapers along the way. The point is that sometimes you cross the border in the middle of the night. And if the chef de brigade has your documents, he doesn't have to wake you up and say, we need your papers. So that's another thing that you can pretty much guarantee that I'm not going to suddenly say, oh, the chef de brigade lost all of your papers. They're far more professional than that. The staff on a train. You have the chef de brigade. He's in charge of the dinner staff and the sleeping car conductors. There's the chef de cuisine. He's the magician in charge of the kitchen, and he's one of the great chefs of Europe. The chef de train. He is the commander-in-chief in charge of overall the train of sleeping cars. You apply to him if you need assistance with anything, any kind of an emergency. You can read the rest of these: the conductor, the head waiter, the maitre d'hotel, and various other things. And then throughout the book, each location will have something. For instance, Paris, it'll give you a description of the place. It'll give you a little map, some pictures maybe. It'll give you advice. It'll show you places of interest and hotels and so forth that are available in the area. And you should use that because that'll give you stuff to build the story. The story very much is being on the train for a short period and then getting off somewhere, and then it's kind of a sandbox. So, you'll want to be able to explore. Besides, this is it will be a trip of a lifetime, even if you are running for your lives. Any questions? It's a lot to throw at you all at once, but I thought that it would be better than doing it during the game.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Aperture, we mentioned one thing. Theodore and Dorian know each other. So how maybe some of the rest of you, I mean, you all know each other. You guys have been in the club for a few years at least.
Yeah, can we? I'm a mere strapling of 36 years of age. I assume I'm one of the younger of a group.
I am 35.
Mm-hmm. So we are in cohort
31.
Oh, young
we are all
Brock.
pretending to not be old.
36 here as well. Baby of the family.
I'm 34, so
I am 40, so I am the.
The grand old man.
I'm finally the child.
And when it comes up, Professor Smythe is in his 60s.
Yeah. So that's interesting. We are all young
Same.
men in our prime of life, ready for adventure on the high trains. So I assume that I have only been at Miskatonic for 4 or 5 years. So I was probably a late but eager ascendant to the inner circle of the Arcane Society. But I guess that is true. I mean, well, we're all young-ish
I think
for that.
that
Just looking at Dr. Nerudo.
I didn't think 40 was so old, but all you youngins.
Old man Neruda is so funny. He walks slowly.
I have asked some of you, I've asked all of you actually some private questions, which we won't discuss. You can, if you haven't answered them, then answer them and send them to me. They'll come into the story eventually.
Does the description of the inner circle's most unusual or mysterious cases, do we call it the Black Dossier? Do we jointly look at it? How much is it shared information in the inner circle, which is just us, I guess? And
I think your inner circle,
Hewitt.
probably all studied what it is. It really is a device to bring you together, so it's not part of the story. But I imagine being in Arkham, there's going to be a few oddities, perhaps even some of the stories that we've played in the past. You can sort of think, now we've got this information on that. Maybe you've got information. You probably have information on the people of Innsmouth and what is suspected, of what's going on there, because we know that Innsmouth, that the university, well, I say that the Arcane Society directly gets involved around 1928 or 29 in getting the government to go to Innsmouth and take care of the problem.
So with our involvement with the Arcane Society, we have not yet, we've seen some strange stuff, but we haven't quite crossed from a cultish into Cthulhu mythos-y experience, right?
Right. Well, or at least right on that minor fringe. Did any of you have Cthulhu mythos? I don't think so.
No.
I didn't know it was an option. I mean, my character studies theology and the occult and has been at 2 universities that have a copy of the Necronomicon. I may have glanced through it once, but I don't know.
I think that would be the most that any of you done, because for you, like a theology student, the Necronomicon is just one of 1,000 tomes that you've perused through. And why would you believe that any more than you would believe any of these other?
Yeah, so I'm sure I've glanced through it or read through it once, but wasn't a deep study of anything, so I don't remember it too well. So
yeah, and I picture
zero Cthulhu mythos, but I would know of the text.
I picture Gunther as he actively disbelieves in supernatural, and if he can't explain it, it's like, well, it must be a stage trick. I just haven't figured out how they did it, and almost rationalizing it if it's something that's like, oh, okay, well, was that a ghost? Well, it must have been something, because there can't be ghosts. So that's not real.
Right. That's probably one of your greatest assets, is the fact that, like I mentioned, like magic, people were freaked out by magic lanterns because they didn't figure you could project pictures onto smoke and make it look like the ghost was floating in the room. It freaked people out. Nowadays, it's like, that's just nonsense. But so you'd be the real skeptic in figuring out how something is taking place. You want concrete evidence.
That's right.
There's probably also in that Black Dossier maybe some things about the ghouls, only in that this persistent story keeps coming up about people living under Arkham and under Boston and places like that. Those sort of stories are very persistent. So anything in our stories that's sketchy,
I thought that
you can bring them up. I won't have any problem with you saying, well, there was that thing with the dolls. That was pretty freaking weird. I
thought that I might have seen some documentation of the rocks from the Color Out of Space. As an inorganic chemist, they bring, we send up a team to this backward valley. They bring back these rocks to the university that just get lighter and lighter and go away. Like we have no equations for any of that.
Right.
And we can only take pictures and measure them and write it down. And then it's like, well, okay, this obviates a lot of what's in textbooks, but we have no other proof for it. We can't repeat it. But it leads me to think, there is something we are missing.
Yeah. That's definitely some of those. You think there must be a scientific explanation, but nothing you can think of can explain it. And maybe somebody will explain it, and then it won't be, you can take that out of the dossier and put it in the regular filing cabinet. I think also it's likely that you keep track of the charlatans. You don't necessarily expose them because most of your club is making money off of the slideshows and to keep you guys going. But you do know who they are. If somebody claims to, speak to the dead, and it's like, no, you don't. We have a dossier on you. You don't. We know that what you're doing. It's a parlor trick. Let's see. I'm very excited for this to start.
So the majority of us, I believe, were affluent, right? So we wouldn't necessarily be a desperate organization for money.
Oh, correct.
Got
Right.
it.
But then you don't necessarily want to throw your own money into these projects. You've got club money, Yeah, well, that's part of it. You wanted to be people who could get up and go to England for a month without it affecting your pocketbook too much. Are any of you married?
I am.
You are. Okay.
Yep.
I am not.
Am I?
Am I married?
Am I?
It's up to you.
I am not. My backup character is married and his wife is sickly, so he's burdened. But I am not at all.
My backup character is
I
married,
should have read my own thing. I am married.
very memorable wife.
I assume her name is Deidre, and you've got 3 daughters named Daphne, Dorian, and Des Moines.
Mhm.
Of course, got to keep with the family naming tradition.
The marriage situation, you guys will have to deal with that the way you want to deal with that. But ultimately, there's not going to be any tag-alongs. So I don't worry about that. It's not a big deal. You're just making a quick trip over to England and then coming right back. So.
Right.
Bad dad, leaving your kids for a month.
Well,
I don't know. I always thought that.
leaving children for a month in the 1920s was not.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't go across state lines without being gone for a month. And
I
children were
promise you
a
that
burden.
the concept of separate vacations sometimes works fine for people. You're married to the same person for 20 years. You might as well vacation, have some fun separately. Not that kind of fun, just regular. You don't always share the same interests.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
Towels.
So if you guys don't have any, do I have anything else? I always keep thinking there's so much to this. I keep thinking there's something I'm forgetting.
Did you want to go over how we met Dr. Smythe?
Sure. Dr. Smythe, I have a thing about him. Hold on just a second. Let me see if I can find it.
Second page.
Oh, yeah, that's the picture. I've got another.
Right. Any other stuff between us, too, since we're all acquainted. I've only been at Miskatonic for 4 years. Is that the average, or?
I've been there at least 12 years. Well, no, I've been there 12 years.
Okay. So if you've been there 12 years, I mean, anybody who's been there longer than 2 years knew Professor Smythe's wife. And she was also a lovely person, say Martha Smythe. But she caught, Spanish flu. She got it right at the end of the Spanish flu epidemic, and she didn't make it. A lot of people were lost during that. I think 50,000. No, 50 million worldwide.
I was going to say.
Oh, yeah. The United States lost over 600,000 dead to it.
Yeah. It started in Kansas, I believe.
Yep, and it did.
Yeah. So that horrible tragedy happened. And the fact that I'm saying that he's gotten over it, that's not really that unusual. I mean, it's been a couple of years since and he mourned her. He was very devastated.
Mm-hmm.
But you eventually
Life goes on.
Keep yourself busy. He's only in his early 60s, so he's not like a an invalid or an old man. I say Smythe was a very dynamic person. People loved to be around him. People liked to listen to him. He was very intelligent, had thousands of anecdotes. Probably privately told you some weird stories of stuff that he did back in England before he came to the United States, that he sort of had his own little society over there as well that he worked with. I think most of you probably just moved into this area, became interested, and he probably targeted you. He probably saw that you were intelligent and experienced and not so given into this nonsense of ghost hunting and chicanery, and just said, would you like to meet a group? We're scientists and doctors and intelligent people. And then you got involved.
Okay.
And then he realized that you really were, not just ghost hunters. And he's like, obviously that slide from the slideshow is nonsense. And that's somebody threw a hubcap in the air. It's not a UFO. Of course, I don't know if they had UFOs back then. UFO pictures.
So Smythe taught all the way through 1919, though, at Miskatonic?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So that would make sense when Theodore came back to the States to go back to school to learn more, focusing on archaeology and anthropology and such. He also was looking to work with the physiology and zoology departments at Miskatonic for big game hunting. At the time, there was a lot of need for gathering specimens and such. So through that, and me going to school there, that could be an easy segue for Theodore to meet Smythe, and also study under Dabrowski.
Yes.
Very good. Very good.
There you go.
Do you, Theodore, have a collection of trophies that you've bagged along the way?
Oh, yes. They'll come out. They have not been maneuvered to within arm's reach yet.
I envision you going into your living room and there's...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's some. Some
Is that a polar bear?
Some are for the university, and some are for my East Coast estate.
Jackalopes everywhere.
Yeah. They're hard to find, but
I was picturing Stu pivoting his camera and there being a Triceratops head mounted over the fireplace because he just happened to have one.
I happen to have the head of David just here, right?
Yeah.
But I did not hunt that.
yeah, hunt David down.
The most difficult animal to hunt is the human. When I was actually in Utah years ago on a vacation, I got to meet the one of the artists that designed the Jurassic Park dinosaurs. Mm-hmm. And we were at his studio, and there was a moment when he says, "Now come over here," and he wouldn't let me turn around. He says, "Come over here and stand." And I'm like, "Okay." And he goes, "Now look over your shoulder." And I look back like this, and he had that T-Rex head on the wall behind me, and I almost jumped. I mean, it was startling because it was huge, and it looked real. Yeah. So if Theodore could have one, he would have one. Gunter, describe your show? What kind of magic do you?
I do. I do a lot of escape tricks. So I have handcuffs that are actually have a subtle release in that only I know how to twist it just right so it releases. So I'll often invite someone on stage, put the handcuffs on in so they can see, oh yeah, these are real handcuffs, and then I have them putting on me, and I'm able to get out. Of course, I do the floating lady, and I have the circle that goes around in where you simply has a little subtle gap in there, so the wires will pass through the gap in the circle and all. And of course, since you're all in the inner circle, I'm trusting you with my magic secrets here. We not for the consumers out there, the lay persons. But a lot of tricks. I try and avoid a lot of the smoke and mirrors, more fancy, because since I'm becoming well known for disproving that happens with it, I find that and most people have enjoyed a lot more of the simpler practical tricks that I, of course, being able to palm objects and all that. That's being up and close. That it's been very successful that way.
Do you do any of the escape artist stuff like Houdini? Are you double jointed or?
No, I don't. No, I wish I was as good as Houdini and was able to get out. My magic is more, especially with the deck, that low dex of mine. I say my magic is more of being prepared for it and having the items that are able to be manipulated, rather than just being able to pop my arm out of.
Dr. Edison, you're currently teaching, so you're not like medical. You're not like a doctor available to do surgery or medical stuff usually.
Well, the School of Medicine at Miskatonic University is a working hospital. So you teach and you heal. And I envisioned that my stay at Miskatonic is part of a joint venture with, like a student exchange with the I don't know, the university in London. We'll just say London University, wherever it is that he was studying in England, and so this is part of that. Of that exchange, right? So he's in his final years. He's been studying to the point where he's a full-fledged doctor already, and so he's teaching students to be, the next generation of doctor. And I'm a general practitioner, so I have general medicine knowledge, and yeah, so I'm here, kind of doing that. I'm doing that stint here in Arkham.
Cool. Let's see. Dr. Kurz, you're a biochemist. I mean,
Inorganic
chemist.
Yeah.
So
So
what
it's
is that? What do you do?
it's about molecular bonds and manipulating these. It is the borderline, in a sense, between physics and chemistry. I am concerned with mixing this and that to make the third thing, but all of the most of the biological things are organic chemistry. Inorganic chemistry is more dealing with metals and their behaviors and combinations.
Yeah, organic would be anything carbon, based.
Yeah, I mean, there, of course,
dealing with other stuff.
it shades in, but yeah, that is organic is its own specialty because it becomes so much more complex with organic processes.
And are you teaching, or are you you work in a lab?
Yeah, I know. I teach. I teach at the university.
So you are also a professor.
Yeah,
Doctor.
yeah.
About 3 professors, 4 doctors total.
I mean, most at this time, most professors are also doctors.
Yeah, that's true. So you're all highly intelligent. Excellent.
A very educated group of odd people.
That makes the best the investigators in this game. Let's see anything else for anybody.
Did anybody fight in the Great War or serve in another way?
My country of origin did not participate in the Great War.
I would imagine, being from Germany, that yes, I did serve in the Great War.
Yes. Dr. York was in the war, serving as a medic. And actually, there was I survived an incident that haunts me to this day. I have a hydrophobia. I have a fear of large open bodies of water because during the war, a boat that I was aboard along with my platoon, the boat was shelled and destroyed, and a quarter of the men died due to drowning by the weight of their gear pulling them under. And it was a horrific incident that I just barely survived.
I think because of that, because you were a medic in the war, I think that anything that is gruesome, body-like, medical, I think you should have a bonus on your sanity roll because you're not.
Due to the war experience package, when I created my character, it does say I'm immune to sand loss from viewing corpses or gross injuries.
Okay, excellent. If that wasn't in there, I think that should be in there because
Yeah.
Right, but you also, for the war experience, you took a sand hit. Did it involve a particular aversion? We're offhand how that works.
The hydrophobia.
Oh, right, yeah.
The hydrophobia. So it's the fear of large bodies of water due to the shelling incident and the near drowning.
Mm-hmm. That's a nice thing about being on a train for a long time.
Yeah.
They are almost always above water.
Yeah.
Almost always. If they're
we just
below,
gotta
there's
get
a
over to
problem.
England.
Yeah, you gotta get to England. Yeah. When I was in the war, that was my job, was to shell the English ships as they were coming over.
So you've met.
You guys you play cards every Tuesday. Whist.
We'll have to say that is something. It's not an insurmountable obstacle. It just makes you incredibly uncomfortable. Because you're going to have to get on a boat to get over there.
I self-medicate when I take a boat.
There you go. Actually, that could bring up something too. Do any of you have any nasty habits? Probably not. This is not cult. You guys are in control of yourselves.
At this point, I'm pretty innocent.
I enjoy a beer, and I've been disappointed about prohibition starting in the United States. I think it's an excessive reaction, but
there are always ways around it.
Exactly.
Smoke pipe tobacco.
It's not a vice. It's the 20s.
Yeah, I mean, you say dirty, but
Doctor prescribed it.
It's good. It's good for your lungs. It's great for your lungs.
Clears the lungs out. Yeah.
The old pertussis cleans right up.
Here, swallow these leeches. That'll fix everything.
Oh.
Okay. So you don't have to read through your little booklet, but keep it handy so that when you get to someplace new, you can say, "Oh, what do they have in this place?" And it doesn't sound like that should be a thing in this, but it is, and it'll make sense when the time comes. Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Should we roll for luck?
Sure.
As a sort of joint exercise, and
if you get anything,
what's your house rule?
Yeah, if you get anything below 40, go ahead and.
All right.
I had already previously rolled my luck. I have a luck of 60.
That's what I just got.
I have the same. I had previously rolled. I have luck of 60 also.
I also have 60. This is a little
60 seems to be the most common number.
Well,
but Stuart has a shit-eating grin on his face. So
Nah, it's not bad. It's 50. Just
Okay.
very.
I thought you were going to
red.
say 90 or
Yeah,
something.
Yeah, he's like,
I also go 50. So.
Okay.
there you go.
50 and 60. I always, when I make my characters for anything, I usually just put 50. I figure 50-50.
Yeah.
Luck.
Oh, darn it. Yeah, I rolled already for luck on the character. Darn it.
And it was
I rolled a 70 before, so I just killed 20 points.
Here's just something for fun. Look around your character sheet. Is there anything on there that you are particularly good at that really doesn't have any impact on anything, like drawing or horseback riding?
I
or...
play a bit of the piano.
There you go.
I play the cello.
I am very good at building stagecraft and electricity.
Okay, so you've got some of that. That's good.
Mhm.
I do ride. I have Chestnut that I ride, but I'm also I can go out hiking and I'm a survivalist in the woods. I have woodland survival.
So you have natural world as well.
I do.
Ooh, survival. That's a good one.
I have quite a bit of natural world because that's what physics is, or
Right.
chemistry in Switzerland. And when I was young, I have natural world, and something stuck out. I'm kind of a generalist. I have some history, and I'm for a sort of quiet academic type. I'm pretty persuasive.
Mm.
Yeah, I also have some charm. My
Oh.
charm is pretty
course.
decent. I have quite a bit of anthropology, history, a bit of natural world, a lot of occult based on my profession, and some astronomy as well.
Nice. I also poured quite a bit of points in fast talk. I find that's an uncommon skill in a lot of games. So
It's a good thing for a magician because you can
kind of
manipulate people into.
that was my thinking.
Yeah.
Yep.
That fellow who does the street stuff, like it's obviously all just like quick distraction, and because they don't look good on TV, but it seems to work on people.
Did you ever see there was one magician who it was really psychological stuff that he did, but he in a mall he got a hold of the PA system, and every few minutes he would say something, and he said that what he was doing was setting up psychological triggers, and then at one point he says, there's a sale going on at such and such, raise your hands. Everybody in the mall froze where they were and they went like this.
Mhm.
And then they all looked around at one another like, what the hell are we doing? It was really weird.
Was it an Englishman?
I don't know. I don't think so.
There's this English fellow who his thing is that he's a modern mentalist who uses like neuroscience to fool the mind. I think he's been debunked a lot because apparently he's prone to using stooges and things because
a lot.
Well, that kind of magic has been around too. They're just fooling the TV audience. David Copperfield. I had so much respect for him until I figured that out. There used to be a magician years ago who his gimmick was to get up there and say, now we are not going to cut at any moment for the camera. These are not camera tricks. We are going to do actual stage magician stuff, And so I believed him. I thought that was, but obviously he knew back then that people do the whole I dream of Jeannie snapping and disappearing, and it's all just tricks. Okay. Anything else? Guys, you guys can write each other and chit chat back and forth over the week before we start. This game is for you guys to enjoy role playing. Your characters can go from being one thing to another as this 3 years goes by, and they'll become wiser and shrewder and, change their mind about some things and
Go bonkers.
hopefully not go too bonkers. I think the reward in this is using your own heads to figure things out and be very careful about I say be very careful. You don't have to be that careful. You just have to be careful enough. I mean, you could say, yeah, we ain't going to go. We're just going to stay.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm taking my substantial funds and moving to the country. Or build a small bunker.
I did find the piano on the saloon car. It's labeled as harpsichord. But
nice find.
I did not find the 50 caliber machine gun port where we're gonna spin around and
it's on the roof.
It's on okay.
Yeah.
There's little bubbles on the roof where you can
Carried it.
We'll be stitching the countryside. Take that.
There's gonna be one on top, one on bottom, and the person and one of them will tell the other one that they're a natural maybe at some point. Who knows?
shooting from underneath the train.
Oh yeah, you never know.
By.
The tentacles could come up from the bottom.
You never know.
All right, guys. This was a good start. We start next week. I waited so long for this.
I have my notebook.
All right.
Yes.
Excellent.
Handsome.
You'll need it. You'll need to figure out a way to organize so that you've got names and events and things over here. And there's a lot of. Did somebody have history? And somebody's got some history.
I
do.
I have 60 history.
Mm.
It's a fairly high amount, I think.
I have the generous 5% that's given to us.
Oh, I have 40 history.
Nice.
Okay.
38.
Well, we
so
were
between the
given
three
5%.
of us.
I missed that.
Because a lot of
it's there.
this game is very much enwrapped in things that were going on in the time, and I think that you could feel free to look up news of stuff that's going on at the time. Just keep that, because notice there's 3 newspapers that'll be available.
Yeah.
Anywhere you go, there's going to be
Or
news.
6 or something, really. There's like 3 just in German.
3 in English.
I meant on the train itself. I think they gave you 3 that were.
No, I think there's 6.
No, there's a bunch. Yeah.
Oh, were there? Oh, I didn't see.
Yeah.
I know the London.
There's
Times there.
Times, the Standard, and the Mail just in English. Then there's 3 French ones, but the Tribune is available as an English language edition. And then there is a German, one German paper developed.
Ah, cool.
Excellent.
Question for this here just hit me. I think I read somewhere, I don't know how this is played, but if you have 30 in a language that's conversational, I believe I've got 21 in French. Would that be like, I wouldn't need to be, I could kind of stumble along in a basic conversation?
You could get through,
Okay.
basic conversation.
You can order a croissant, find a bathroom, ask for directions that aren't complicated.
Where's the train station?
One of the really interesting things is one of the qualifications for getting hired on the Orient Express at the time was you had to speak 5 languages at least.
Wow.
So everybody on board the train speaks German, English, French, Dutch, and whatever, along the way. And their personnel probably switch off every once in a while. So the closer you get to like Constantinople, the more Greek speakers you're going to get, and Turkish speakers, and so forth.
So Stu, at 10%, simple ideas can be communicated. At 30, transactional requests can be understood. So you're kind of like
what that brings up another thing. What languages do you all speak?
German
English.
and English.
English and Latin.
English, Polish, and German.
English, French, Italian. That's it.
We're going to be counting your French a lot, Teddy.
Yeah.
I've got basically German and English as well. I've got just a smidge of Italian and French because I'm Swiss, but
I have Spanish, English, and Latin.
Right.
And then I don't know how you're going to be handling the crew Tom, but if it's anything like modern day American passenger trains, crew will change out at almost every major stop. So maybe some of the head honcho crew members, like the chef de train, probably won't change out.
Those won't change out, no.
But some of the porters and things like that, some of your common wait staff,
the
and
waiters
all that,
and stuff like that will probably
they probably will stay within a certain set of boundaries, and so they'll be on the train this direction, get off, and then wait for the other one that's coming the other direction, get on that one, work it back to the other way, and just keep going back and forth like that.
Something that we won't worry about too much either is because in the game, you're like I say, you're going to be going to this location, getting off, having an adventure, getting back on, going to this location, getting off. So the people on the train, we're not going to worry about new names every time. We'll just, it happens to be the same guy.
All right.
We just happen to get exactly the same room as we had before.
All right, cool.
Creepy.
Because otherwise you get all lost in the details.
Yeah.
One thing that the thing suggests, if you're playing this around a big table, which if you were doing that, is I've got a thing to make out passports for everybody, and you can tell the players that if they don't bring their passports to the game, then there's going to be problems because they're going to get detained at the border. And
and you could actually stamp write on the passport.
I actually made some beautiful passports for all my players when I did a live game, and I made stickers of all the things to stick in their books as they went along.
But wasn't there a company that did that or was that for masks? There was a company, they were at Necronomicon 2019, and they had like a pack of props and stuff it was either
the HP Lovecraft Historical Society.
Was it the Mask is an Nyarlathotep they did, or was it horror?
It's masks. They have a masks prop.
Oh, okay, that was it. It looked really cool. Just glancing at it.
We are not sponsored by them, by the way.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Throwing that out there.
Yeah.
There are some beautiful. I think, in fact, it was their stuff because I found I purchased a big file of all sorts of props, and at the time I was working. I mean, you don't purchase the props; you purchase the files. But at the time I was working at the print place. I was actually at the print place. So I could print out the passport, which is really one big gigantic piece of paper that's folded with the different pages, and put it together with an actual leatherette cover. And they were lovely, and they were authentic because they look, they're copies of actual passports. But I had English ones, and I had American ones, and I had German ones. And the German ones are actually even prettier because they have the double-headed eagle and the stuff in the background, and very pretty.
Nothing like early 20th century Germany for strong design choices.
Mm-hmm.
So are there no Americans here?
I'm American.
Yeah.
Teddy is the only one?
Mm-hmm.
That's okay.
But it doesn't matter. You're all Americans in your heart.
Yeah, I was naturalized.
Yeah, I was thinking about the fact that we expect to be in Europe a lot.
Yeah.
And also no one chose to be French. So we've got an Englishman, a Pole. Neruda, are you Spanish or Portuguese?
Spanish. I'm from Argentina.
Oh, right. Okay, not European, but Spanish speaking.
So it's very unlikely that any of you have ever been on the Orient Express before. It's just too expensive. You've been on other trains.
Mm-hmm.
And some trains are very nice, but Orient Express is.
And my allowance was way cut. I'm only credit rating 65.
Only.
There you go.
Oh no. Poor
Only
you.
65.
Oh yeah. Well, my parents, they're like at 90, and my siblings are getting allowances, keeping them at 80 to 85, and I got cut big time. So
Nice.
Yes, that's mine. I'm an 80 credit rating. I'm not sure why I even associate with you, but
Well, I don't want to surprise you, but the fact is you probably won't get to the train until maybe 3 or 4 episodes in. So
That's not
there's
bad.
lots of stuff to do before that. All right, folks.
Nice.
Go ahead and do the closer. Our players will include, or do include, next week, Morgan Llewellyn, David Gassaway, Stuart Lively, Keith Craig, Josh Harwood, and John Hook, yours truly as the Keeper of the Secrets. We have a Discord server where you can chat with our other members, you can set up private games, and you can learn the finer arts of gameplay and game mastering. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. If you'd like to help support our show, please visit our Patreon account. Just $1 or $2 a month helps us a lot. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and punch the bell icon for updates on our latest shows, and leave us some comments. We enjoy reading them and answering any questions you might have. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good gaming.